Hello, everyone. This is Margaret Manning with Life After Death. Life After Death is a community of people who are fascinated by the topic of life after death. We will be asking questions and interviewing experts, and also talking about the fear of death and how we can deal with that in a practical way in our lives. Our website, Life After Death, will publish articles on a wide range of topics from near-death experience to the afterlife, and we'll add a little bit of humor, and we'll have quotes and just things that can help you to look at this subject in a holistic way. Our conversations will be respectful and balanced, and we will take a neutral position. We welcome everybody here to this conversation. Now, I'd like to just introduce myself a little bit and tell you a little more about what you can expect from life after death. Now, my name is Margaret Manning. I had a very early experience with death as a child, which I think it has impacted my life, significantly. I was 3 years old when my grandmother died, and apparently I was with her on the bed when she died. And I didn't know this; I was just a little girl. But I have a vague memory of just that moment, but I don't remember. But I know it had an impact. Then I had a reality that I had to deal with in my teenage years when my mom died of cancer. She was only 50 years old, and I was there with her most of the time, trying to be a teenager and going to school and dealing with my emotions, which were, like you can imagine, very complex. So I have a very personal experience of an early loss, and I'm sure many of you do too. And I think that if we did a look at, the people who might be in this community, a lot of us have had experiences of loss that have raised the question or amplified the conversation about life after death. Now, the next thing, though, that happened in my life, which was a very positive thing, was I met Elisabeth Kubler-Ross. I had read her book on death and dying, and she agreed to meet with me. This was in the early 80s, and I met with her in Denver, and we talked, and she asked me if I would help her with her workshops that she was doing called Life, Death, and Transition. And these workshops were very successful, and I helped her with the marketing and the organization of the sessions that she did. And of course, those of you who know Elisabeth Kubler-Ross know her work and the sort of impact that she had on this conversation about death and dying. Now, I also then from that was asked by Souvenir Press to write a book on the subject of hospices. And I had never written a book, but they knew with my work with Elisabeth that I had experience. And I'd actually written several articles that were published in the Guardian newspaper and other places that received literally bagfuls of responses and posts. It was such a topic of concern at that time, because thinking about it, there were no hospices in the world except for St. Christopher's and St. Joseph's in England, and a few other specialty hospitals like Helen House, which was for children. So there were some, but no organized hospice movement in the world. So I published my book, The Hospice Alternative, Living with Dying, in 1983, and then continued after that to do a program with the BBC called Perspectives on Death, which was the most amazing program. We took small groups of people through a 10-week program that included a visit to a mortuary, discussion with funeral directors. The idea was to bring the conversation about death to people who wanted to chat about it, but in a way that was not immediately tied up with a bereavement or a loss. So I've had a lot of experience personally with death, and also my work with Elisabeth and so on. I want to tell you that only because I think it gives me a connection to you. I know a lot of you possibly and probably have had similar experiences. So I wanted to make sure that you understood that. Now, the topics that we're going to be covering are really going to be around this discussion of life after death. What happens after death? What kind of life, if anything, or what consciousness continues? We'll be talking about subjects that are so diverse, like, do we have a body? A physical body of some kind in the afterlife? Do our pets and animals go to heaven? Are near-death experiences real? What really happens? Can we speak with dead people? Can we speak with people who have passed into another dimension? What is that? What does science think about this? What is the latest research on sort of the quantum brain and how that works? Does energy manifest itself in some way after we die? What do you think about reincarnation? What about the emotions and the memories that we have now? Do they carry on when we die? There's so many topics here that we can chat about, and you'll see as we go through this next year or so and onward, what the kinds of things that actually are on your mind. So I encourage you, please leave your comments in the section below this video. If you're watching it on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and also go to the website, and when there's an article that you would like to read, go ahead and leave your comments. We'll also be, I think I mentioned, interviewing experts, people that have written books on this subject, and we really do value their expertise, people that have obviously taken a passion about this and written books that we can help us. And we'll also be talking to people who have, special powers. I'll put that in quotes, that have special areas of expertise. Never are we going to judge or, endorse one or the other. Everything is just open conversation. And I think, to be honest with you, this is where our people over 60 are actually really worrying about death. Is how can it be clear? How can it be actually balanced without taking a side? A lot of people have got a religion in there as they get older, but many don't. And that's kind of my area. In my 60s, I can understand that. And I'm really, really adamant about giving you practical solutions. And so that's what we're going to talk about in all of our articles. We're going to have quotes. We've got some really good, people have written some amazing quotes. Steve Jobs, for example, Isaac Asimov, Mike Confucius, people that, living and dead, who are actually able to talk about, from their wisdom, their research, what they think the death experience might be, the transitions, and also the consciousness that continues to exist after death. Lots and lots of topics. So join us as we join other people, experts, and people who have interest in this topic. Join us in a conversation about life after death as you see it. And hopefully we'll be able to allay some of your fears, address some of the concerns in a practical way, and just open doorways to conversation about this very, very important topic. So thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoy the conversations. As I said, we're always open to your feedback and look forward to being on this journey of discovering more about the ideas of life after death together. Thank you so much, everybody. Look forward to continuing our conversations. Bye-bye for now.